Welcome to session 2 of my series on game theory. So this session I'm going to be discussing the sort of largest phenomenon which occurs in chapter 2 of Laszlo Mero's book, Moral Calculations, Game Theory, Logic, and Human Frailty. And so that problem, which we will be discussing, is Hofstadter's Offer. So what is Hofstadter's Offer? A man by the name of Douglas Hofstadter posed an offer to the readers of Scientific American that he would give a prize of $1 million to the winner of the competition. So what is the competition, however? Well, the rules of the competition are that some random person, will be given a prize of $1 million. However, that $1 million prize reduces inversely in proportion to the number of people who enter the competition. So in other words, if only one player enters the competition, that player will receive a prize of $1 million. However, if 2 players enter the competition, then the winner will only receive $500,000. And similarly, if 3 people were to enter the competition, then the winner would receive a prize of only $333,000. So, and that continues, so on and so forth, until basically the prize is gone. So that's more or less why Hofstadter was willing to make the offer, because how could people possibly choose who the hell is going to enter the competition? And how will you control for example, how many people enter the competition such that the prize isn't completely, obliterated by virtue of everyone entering? So obviously this is a play on a couple different things. The first thing is obviously that in a normal lottery, it doesn't matter how many people enter the competition. Yes, that number of people who enter the competition reduce the chance of every other person to win, but the person who wins, their prize is unaffected. Like, if they win, they're rich, they're laughing, it's cool, it's fine. However, this one, the difference is obviously that the number of people who enter necessarily reduce the prize of the winner, or potentially take away entirely the prize of the winner. So, quite a conundrum indeed. So one thing about this, though, to take into consideration is that it's not just like an abstract theoretical thing. This also applies as sort of like a social reality principle, right? So let's suppose, for example, that like cab drivers. Let's suppose we're in New York City. Let's suppose there's 1 million people, and of that 1 million people, 700,000 decide, you know what, I'm going to drive a taxi. I'd like to start a taxi business. It seems profitable, etc. So 700,000 taxi businesses rise up. So what that means is basically 7 out of 10 people drive a taxi, and 3 out of 10 people do not and need a taxi. So obviously the market consequence would be that no one would be able to generate a profit or earn a living even, like profit or a living by way of driving a taxi. It would be impossible, because at any given time there are so many taxis that it would be more or less completely random what taxi is chosen. Like, I bet in each instance, the probability that you'd use the same taxi would be like severely lessened to the point at which there's no more taxis left, or alternatively, people just continuously drive themselves out, or they just fall out of business because they realize it's not profitable, and the only ones left are the ones that are, hard-headed as hell, and are like, you know what, I'm going to drive this taxi to the death, and then so on and so forth. Then you actually have taxis. But more often than not, it'd be more likely that everyone would be driven out of business and just wouldn't have produced enough capital to continue doing it. So the theory there is just like Hofstadter's offer, is that by virtue of entering the competition, you necessarily, so like even the winner in Hofstadter's offer, just by virtue of entering, similar with a taxi driver in the situation just described, they not only lessen the odds for everyone else to create a profit for themselves and, have a living, but also, paradoxically, they reduce their own chances too, because they are in turn participating in this large structure in which everyone's taking away from everyone else just by existing in that, given thing. So, how do you solve the problem? So, the taxi situation kind of comes down to, like, on the one hand, nobody wins, it's just pure chaos. And on the other hand, it's you could in theory say that the taxi that would survive would be the one that had the most, tenacity, perhaps, stuck around the longest. So that wouldn't really be by chance, would it? So, however, Marrow believes that chance is the solution to Hofstadter's offer. So to sort of conceptualize that, what he means is that on the one hand, or on the first hand, we shouldn't just not participate. Like, we shouldn't just leave it to chance in the sense that, well, if someone wants to participate, we just let them participate, and if someone doesn't, then they don't. We just see how it works out. No, we should have a rational strategy by which we determine who enters the competition, and we can utilize chance for that. Because if no one enters the competition because they just can't decide, or maybe you decide that's unethical because we can't decide, then, well, Hofstadter laughs in the face of everyone because they can't decide, as does Scientific American. But on the other hand, if there's no strategy and everyone goes, then again, they laugh in your face and no one wins. However, the chance that Marrow suggests is that we construct a hypothetical dice of 100,000 sides. So obviously automated via computer. And so, that's presupposing, though, let's say that there's 100,000 people that wish to enter the competition. So for the number of people who wish to enter the competition, we construct a dice online, or automated on the computer, with the exact number of sides to which there are people who wish to enter. And we have each person press the button to roll the dice, and since their chances are precisely, 1 in 100, I don't know if you can see this low, since their chances will be then precisely 1 in 100,000, then therefore their chances are completely by chance, completely equal, and whoever wins, we all agree that that person is the winner, and they will receive the $1 million. And in this way, we sort of use chance in this way as the common principle, or rather the principle of common interest between people, so that somebody wins. Because in theory, it's better that we rationally choose together who's going to win rather than just let the chance pass by completely. Because in a sense, if we don't participate by virtue of not being able to figure it out, or by virtue of, simply not being able to figure out, or not knowing what's ethical or what's the right way to go about it, we all sort of suffer a loss. Because in theory, every single person who thought about the competition could have won the competition, could we have figured out the mechanism by which we could determine who enters. So in a sense, if we don't participate, it's an all-around loss for everyone. Everyone loses some potential actuality. Whereas if we resort to chance, we can figure it out more justly. We can figure out a method by which one person can win, and therefore, in a sense, we all kind of win because we collectively constructed a principle by which we all agree is ethical, fair for someone to participate. So that's basically that. But the real problem with that, of course, is on a society level, on a resource level, are we always justified in resorting to chance to solve our problems? Is that always a good thing? I will leave that for you to ponder and to think about. And stay tuned for the next installment, which will be next week, in which we're going to cover something a little bit more personal, a little bit more, disturbing, which is the prisoner's dilemma. If you already know about the prisoner's dilemma, prepare yourself to have it explained more in depth. And if you don't already know about what the prisoner's dilemma is, for the love of God, don't cheat me. Don't, go and look it up somewhere. Just wait. We're going to get to it. It's going to be very riveting. Yeah, it's going to be great. Yeah, so that's that. If you like this content, please subscribe to my channel, because I'm so desperate for followers. I'm just kidding. If you like the content, subscribe. If you don't, whatever. Yeah, so next week, more videos coming this week as well, as pertaining to economics and Foucault, because fuck post-structuralism.